This is Comic Geek Speak, episode 1664, Previews!
Laser beams, opinions like the seasons on everything you read in comics, movies, games, toys, artists, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek. Uniting the world's mightiest heroes. This is...
I'm Brian Chrisman.
And I'm Adam Murdo.
Comic Geek Speak.
And welcome to the show. Once again, it's previews time. In this episode, we're going to go through the previews catalog for August of 2017 for items shipping to stores mostly starting in October of 2017. Of course, for Halloween, I think they have the Halloween, what do they call it? The Halloween Comic Fest is going on again. And as always, with these previews episodes, the sponsor is Discount Comic Book Service, DCBService.com. And what can we say that we haven't said before, but I'll say it again. When you pre-order with them any DC, Marvel, Dark Horse, or Image book right away, they are 40% off the cover price. Most of the other publishers between 20 and 35% off cover price. They do run specials on special issues. Yeah, of course. Yes, they do run specials on some certain issues each month with extra discounts of sometimes 45, 50, 60, even up to 75% off cover price. And, of course, they've got all kinds of bundles for like titles. They still have going on half off certain DC Universe Rebirth bundles. They've got half off DC's new miniseries from Vertigo and Young Animal bundles. They've got the Rebirth variant bundles for 45% off. The DC Kids bundle is half off. A Valiant bundle for half off. All kinds of bundles. And they continue to run one of their fantastic deals. Whenever you pre-order for them any new DC or Marvel trade or hardcover, they're all 50% off the cover price. And you can get your comics bagged and boarded. And actually, for my most recent shipment, they actually were out of the usual bags I get, and they gave me a free upgrade to the next level of my lights. I'm like, that's awesome. That was awesome. You can get your books shipped weekly, twice monthly, or monthly. We've used them forever. They're fantastic. You can always add things after the fact. Because you're very good with that, getting your orders added to. So check them out if you haven't already. Discount Comic Book Service, DCBService.com. And if you may have noticed, we're a little light with the geeks tonight. It's only Adam and myself for now. For now.
Yep, we may pick up a straggler or two along the way.
We may. So you're stuck with us, basically.
I don't think they mind.
Oh, I don't know. Let's see. A couple other little business up front. This might be the last time I get to plug that Mr. Brian Deemer and myself will be going to the upcoming London Super Comic Convention happening Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, August 25th, 26th, and 27th at the Business Design Center in London, England. This is the first one they're having this show run 3 days, and it's at a new location. So we're very, very excited about that. And some of the guests I'd like to mention who's going to be attending the show. Lee Bermejo, Gabrielle Del Otto, Terry Dodson, Tyler Cookham, Gillum March, Bob McLeod, Bart Sears, Dan Slatt, who I'm going to corner and make him write me some Silver Surfer stories right there on the spot. I need that. Simone Bianchi, Doug Braithwaite, Mark Buckingham, Claudio Castellini, Mike Collins, Dave Gibbons, Kieran Gillen, David Hine, Fraser Irving, Mike Norton. Norton going to be over there, so we're supporting Norton. Rachel Stott, Lee Townsend, John Watson, Chris Weston, and a young and up-and-coming writer by the name of Brian Michael Bendis.
Kids going places.
Yeah, kids going places. So looking forward to that very much. Again, check out LondonSuperComicConvention.com to get your tickets now and get them early to avoid disappointment. I like saying that. I believe I will be stationed in Artist Alley working for the show, so if you happen to be there, you can just track me down. But please, please, please don't yell panic in the crowded room. That's not going to work. Because as you all know, it means something different completely over there in the UK than it does here in the States.
Very good point.
Also, I want to mention that, of course, we had our last episode was the ginormous Spotlight on Jack King Kirby Part 1. That was well over 3 hours and got a lot of good feedback on that. A lot of people seem to like that. We thank you for that very much. A little behind the scenes here, the plan was actually to record Part 2 the same evening as well, maybe even this previous episode, but Chris actually got a little sore throat there from talking so long, so we put that off. So we're hopefully going to get to that before the end of this month, which of course is Kirby's birthday month. Would have been 100 on August 28th, but just so that will be coming as soon as we get to it, and looking forward to that very, very much.
Very much indeed.
All right. Well, like I mentioned, Adam, again, please interrupt me if there's anything you want to add or interject. Shane, who couldn't be here, did send along an email. We might drop in some of his picks for things to look for this month. In the preview, again, this is always our thoughts on some things that look good to us or that we are ordering. So, without any further ado, I mean, we
or don't.
Or you're such a wise guy. Let's jump into the usual place, I guess, with Dark Horse. And now, the first thing that caught my eye here, and probably yours as well, is Sherlock, Frankenstein, and the Legion of Evil #1. So I guess this spins out of the Black Hammer title. Am I correct?
Oh, you're completely correct, Brian. Yeah, this is basically just the next arc of Black Hammer that's been published under a different title as a standalone miniseries. So you might notice that there is no new issue of Black Hammer coming out this month. That's because Sherlock, Frankenstein, and Legion of Evil basically is your Black Hammer content for this month. So don't let the change in title throw you. If you have been reading this title from month to month, this is a buy for you.
And the first issue of DCBS is half off the cover price, only $1.99.
Okay, we are on page 48. We've got what looks to be a new printing of the graphic novelization of the Neil Gaiman story, Only the End of the World Again, art by Troy Nixie, and it's kind of a blasé tale of apocalypticism which involves a werewolf. Dark Horse continues to punt us some graphic interpretations of Neil Gaiman's stuff. And page 57, the final issue of Rebels, These Free and Independent States, number 8 of the current 8-issue miniseries volume, having to do with John Adams and Ethan Allen's Green Mountain Boys, good historical fiction, American history interpreted into the sequential art form. And I think that's pretty much the only things of interest for me in this issue. But on a related note, Shane does mention that he would like to order a Rebels trade paperback that is being offered in this catalog.
All right. Are we going to go on to DC next?
I'm all for that.
All right. Have you been reading any of the, whether it's the DC Metal or anything that's coming up? Was it the casting or the...
Yeah, that's the most recent one, this Dark Days stuff. I just got that in my DCBS shipment last week. I haven't even read The Forge yet. I brought it with me from Pennsylvania last time I was there, but I haven't opened it yet. So all this Dark Days stuff is still kind of a mystery to me, except I'm aware that there is now something called a dark multiverse existing in synchronization, but in opposition to the positive matter multiverse that we've always known. I don't think it's antimatter either. It's dark matter. Kind of multiverse. Infinite possibilities, easily as many possibilities, if not more so, than the positive matter multiverse we've all come to know and love from DC Comics, and yet all it seems to do is churn out mashups of Batman with other DC characters. mashups that are evil. And it will be invading the DC multiverse proper, particularly the mainstream Earth, whatever number it happens to have these days, Earth Zero possibly, in the months to come. And we're seeing a bunch of tie-in issues in this issue of previews, both standalone one-shots, most of them with the word Batman in the title, and also some tie-ins with ongoing DC series. I'm going to be cherry-picking a few of the most important-looking issues, like the ones with the fancy chromium covers, for example, but yeah, for the most part, I'll just kind of watch and wait. Shane and I are both going to be getting on page 72 of three issues. It's triple shipping this month. Action Comics, numbers 989, 990, and 991. Parts 3, 4, and 5 of the Oz Effect storyline, which has to do with the mysterious Mr. Oz, who's been a presence in Superman's life ever since the DCU rebirth period began. And he's got some mysterious connection to Superman in his various iterations throughout reality, and he's got plans for the Man of Steel, and I guess those are starting to come to a head in this storyline. So we're still kind of curious about that, but Shane and I agree. Capital UGH-UG on the triple shipping, though.
Well, to be fair, it does say to the left there, says shipping twice monthly, and it does say $9.89 is on sale October 11th, $9.90 October 25th, and $9.91 on November 8th. So
okay. So technically it is spread out across 2 months, but yeah, but it's just advanced solicited.
Correct. And again, I haven't been keeping up with Action Comics as much as I would like. I do have some of the issues I've been finding at cons, but I'm pretty sure this is obviously a big build to Action Comics 1000, which should happen, if my math is correct, in about 4.5 months. So what's that going to be? November, probably sometime maybe in March we should see Action Comics number 1000 come out.
Yep, sometime in early 2018, which would be the 80th anniversary year of Superman from 1938.
Yes.
And let's see, Shane says that he's, well, first of all, he says, and I quote, "I still may get the Dark Multiverse books. I am just intrigued." In addition to that, he's getting Batgirl and the Birds of Prey by the Benson sisters and Roge Antonio, part 1 of a new Manslaughter storyline. It's kind of a Why the Last Man type premise in which all the men in Gotham City have come down with a mysterious virus. And then there's Batman, number 32 and 33, on page 76, the conclusion of the War of Jokes and Riddles story, and the beginning of the A Dream of Me story, which apparently has some interesting developments in the Batman and Catwoman relationship. Shane is, of course, buying Blue Beetle, number 14. He's also, on page 82, buying Detective Comics, number 966 and 67, which continues the A Lonely Place of Living story, in which Tim Drake seems to have blundered into the plans of the aforementioned Mr. Oz. So, continuing to tease out the tenuous nature of reality in the post-DCU rebirth DC universe in this story.
And at Detective Comics' current pace of shipping twice monthly, they should hit issue 1000, let's see, in about 17 months from now, which would be, again, probably like March, April of 2019, which is the 80th anniversary of Batman.
Page 84. It's been a while since I've paid much attention to the Green Lantern titles, but what we have here appears to be something of a follow-up to a story that was in the Superman ongoing a little while ago, where Superman had a run-in with Sinestro. But here we have Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps, numbers 30 and 31, a story called Mind Games. It's got Superman, once again, tangled up with Sinestro and the Sinestro Corps. Hal Jordan is present himself, of course, and Hector Hammond, classic Green Lantern foe of the Silver Age. Also, he's his life hangs in the balance in this story. I mean, that's probably why he has telepathic powers. That's probably why the story is called Mind Games. So, Hal plus Sinestro plus Superman plus Hector Hammond equals bye. So, I'm getting that.
Well, I see on page 105 they have Dead Man number 1 written and drawn by Neil Adams.
Guy who has a little something to do with the character, after all.
A little bit. Yeah, there's actually a 6-issue miniseries. I see that Shane is definitely interested in seeing Neil Adams draw Dead Man again.
Where this takes place in continuity, if it bothers with piddling concepts like continuity is in doubt, of course, but the headline here is, of course, written and drawn by Neil Adams. So that interests you as it does Shane, go for it. Shane's also buying Titans number 16, which seems to have deal with a threat to Wally West, the pre-Flashpoint Wally West, who's barely finding his feet in the post-Flashpoint reality, and he seems to be in danger of his foothold in this reality being yanked out from under him. This is on page 98. Shane and I will both be buying that. Page 100, we've got a couple more issues of Wonder Woman, numbers 32 and 33. These are written by James Robinson, and number 33 is part one of a story called Times Past, a phrase that is fraught with meaning for James Robinson and for his people who followed his work since his Starman series. So his take on the post-Flashpoint Wonder Woman continues.
Now, this caught my eye. Then up on page 107, Harley and Ivy meet Betty and Veronica, number 1. That's a great cover. That's a great idea. It's written by Paul Dini and Mark Andreyko, with art by Laura Brugge and a wonderful Manacana cover. I just was kind of wondering, it looks like it's going to be 6 issues. They can get 6 issues of story out of it. I thought it might be if it was maybe like a one-shot, I might be considering buying that, but 6 issues, I'm not. Maybe wait for a trade for that. But
yeah, I think I may do that too. But yeah, I have faith in Paul Dini to be able to fill those 6 issues with actual story, or at least humor, to make it worth the dollars it'll cost.
Mm-hmm. Then on page 110, we've got Ragman number 1. As far as I can tell, first time in the post-Flashpoint DC universe. Does that sound about right to you, Adam?
I'm not entirely certain of that. I can't name you a specific appearance of Ragman post-Flashpoint, but it seems to me like he was probably used sometime, and they're just choosing to ignore that. I think we can just kind of pretend this is a parallel universe Ragman, because he's got no connection to any previous iteration of the character at all. His name's not even the same. Personally, I have no interest in reading this. I'd like to hear the thoughts of our old friend Chad Bokelman, who goes by Cajun Arley on the forums about this. He actually ran a Ragman blog for a while there. Yep, just dedicated to all past appearances of the Tatterdemalion of Justice in DC Comics. So I'm wondering whether he's greeting this miniseries with optimism or cynicism. Maybe you can get back to us on the comicforums.vanillaforums.com to let us know what he thinks. Meantime, before we get any further into the DC section, I'd like to go back to page 101 for a bit.
Sure.
This is issue number 1 of a 7-issue miniseries, and this was DC's choice for the cover story for this month's previews catalog. It's called Batman White Knight, written and drawn by Sean Murphy, who also provides the covers. And it's a story of it sounds almost like an Earth 3 scenario, actually. It's a kind of a story about a role reversal between Batman and the Joker, in which Batman is kind of gone off the deep end. The Joker, meanwhile, has gone sane, and he's then called upon to try and rein in the Batman. So, another story about the ever complicated relationship between Batman and his arch nemesis. And it begins with issue number 1, so listed on page 101, and it's 50% off if you order it through dcbservice.com.
Yes, it is.
Page 116, continuing the collaborations between DC Entertainment and Hanna-Barbera, we've got a Rough and Ready Show miniseries, 6 issues, written by Howard Chaykin, apparently drawing on some of the same inspirations that gave us his Satellite Sam series a while ago. It's set in the golden age of television, or just, I should say it's set in the present day, but featuring characters who had their heyday during the golden age of television. It's playing Rough and Ready, the cartoon dog and cat duo, as old television actors who are trying to make a comeback in modern times. It's written by Chaykin with art by Macrae, cover by Chaykin. 6 issues of that. I think we got a preview of that as a second feature of one of those DC Hanna-Barbera one-shots that DC did a while back.
Oh, okay.
Page 118, the Kirby-esque Bug, The Adventures of Forager by members of the Allred family. That's miniseries has come to a close. Eventually we'll talk about the first issue of that miniseries in an off-the-rack episode.
And speaking of Kirby, on page 128. I did mention this actually in the spotlight. We did that you're soliciting the Challengers of the Unknown by Jack Kirby trade paperback. This collects the first 4 showcase appearances of the Challengers, as well as the first 8 issues of their series in a single paperback volume. And there are a couple of Silver Age DC characters and concepts I really haven't gotten into, or even collected for that matter, and this is one of them. So I did actually order this because, of course, it's half off. It's only $14.99 through DCBS. Of course, sort of a precursor-ish of the Fantastic Four.
Oh, no doubt. And I think I will be joining you in ordering this, Brian.
Yeah, it seems to be like almost a no-brainer for me to pick that up. It's like, just something... Well, it's one of those blind spots in my DC Silver Age reading, and it's like, can't go wrong with that.
Surely not.
Because I could never afford the back issues of those issues. That's, 50s, 55, 50s, 67, that sort of era. Those are kind of pricey.
Yeah, and hard to find at any price, I would think.
Yes. Even in my beat-up reader copy mentality. Oh, and speaking of which, I want to mention, you probably saw me post about this. Shannon and I were actually at a local Comic-Con in Lehigh Valley a little ago, and I picked up a reader copy of Strange Adventures number 8. And the reason that I picked it up is I don't know if it's been definitely determined, but it's pretty widely believed that this was the first DC comic with a gorilla on the cover.
Was that the one with the gorilla saying, "I am a human who's been the victim of a horrible scientific experiment"?
That's correct. It was a decent deal. It's like, I think I'm going to pick it up. So it was an impulse buy, but it's just some of that DC Silver Age stuff is just so wacky. It's like, I got to buy it. Oh, and a bit of trivia for me. Now, that was issue 8. Can you tell me what character made his first appearance in the next issue, Strange Adventures number 9?
Well, this is an issue number question, Brian, so the answer is no.
Can you give me
a hint? Give me a hint.
First, the hint I'll give you is he's a favorite character of Peter the Rios.
Well, he has many loves.
Okay, that's true. But this might be a dead giveaway. I believe he is the first chronological DC quote-unquote mutant.
Okay, so we're talking about Captain Comet.
Captain Comet, that's correct.
All right. He's also a favorite of writer Mark Waid. And kind of a favorite of mine, too, because we're both Adams.
Yes. All right, well, thank you for that digression there. Let's get back to the DC solicits. On page 132, a trade paperback of Wonder Woman in the Golden Age. Reprinting her first appearance in All-Star Comics number 8, her first 14 stories in Sensation Comics, first 3 stories in Wonder Woman, the first 3 issues of Wonder Woman, as well as Comic Cavalcade number 1. I love saying Comic Cavalcade. And it's $24.99, of course, half off through DCBS. Now, of course, I have all those already, I believe, in the archive edition, but that's a really good price to get your feet wet into the Golden Age Wonder Woman.
Now, of course, on page 134, as we get into Vertigo territory,
yes.
Have to give a shout-out to Astro City number 48 with guest pencils by our good friend Mike Norton. And not only is it drawn by Norton, it's got a team of super pets, including the introduction of Ghost Ferret. And it's got a monkey flying a little, like, jet-propelled capsule thing. A monkey in a lightning-bolted crash helmet. So, if you have any love at all for superpowered animals, how could you possibly let a story like this pass you by?
Anything else for DC?
Not for me. One more thing on Shane's list is Mr. Miracle number 3. That's the Tom King written, soon-to-debut Mr. Miracle series.
Well, actually, as we record this, issue 1 has already hit the comic stands. It actually came out yesterday as we record this on Wednesday, August 9th.
See, that's just how soon it is to debut.
And, unfortunately, I do get my books monthly, so I won't get to read that for quite some time. So it's tough trying to stay off the interweb and be spoiled because what I've seen so far is, again, they're saying great things about it. Tom King and Mitch Gerads, how could they not? All right, so on next to IDW.
Yep, and the big news from IDW right now is an interesting little experiment in comics publishing. It's a new kind of comics imprint called Black Crown. Apparently, it's the mastermind behind this is editor Shelley Bond, and it's a new take on the idea of a comics universe, like a shared storytelling setting. Instead of a big, sprawling cosmos full of aliens and heroes and villains and godlike beings and all of that, it's just a neighborhood. It's like an imaginary little sort of Williamsburg-like hipster paradise with lots of trendy little local businesses. There's a coffee shop and a roller rink and a dry cleaners. And instead of inviting creators to just come in and do whatever books they want, the way this imprint is being run, it's being run like a real estate office in this little neighborhood named Black Crown after the local tavern. And they're renting out storefronts. They've got a list of different businesses that exist in this imaginary neighborhood, and they're inviting creative teams to come and just kind of choose an imaginary business off this list and make up a series based in and around this business. And it's kind of an interesting approach. The first series they've got here is called Kid Lobotomy, and it's set in the a local residential hotel called the Suites in this neighborhood of Black Crown. And there's still plenty of latitude for creators to do all kinds of wonky, strange, fantasy, sci-fi things. It's just they have to somehow ground it in one of these fictitious storefronts. It's kind of a keen idea. I'm not exactly sure how marketable it's going to prove to be in the long run, but it certainly is creative, and I wish them luck with this initiative. Apparently there's going to be several series coming out from here, including, we're teased in the solicitation copy here, maybe one from Mike Allred set in a record shop called The Atomic Turntable. Definitely keep my eyes open for that one. So there you go, Black Crown. You can check out Kid Lobotomy and also an anthology called Black Crown Quarterly, which contains work by people like Peter Milligan, Teenie Howard, Gilbert Hernandez, and others.
All right.
And I'm pretty sure there's a bundle related to this coming out through DCBService.com.
Yes, Shelley Bond's Black Crown imprint begins. Kid Lobotomy and Black Crown Quarterly are 50% off.
Magnificent.
Well, once again on page 176, IDW with their artist editions has done it again, this time with Gene Colan's Tomb of Dracula artist edition. My goodness.
Yeah, not a whole lot for me in the IDW section here. The Star Trek The Next Generation Mirror Broken, of course. 5th issue of that's coming out with J.K. Woodward art. Not to be missed. Shane is buying that too. He's also buying Mask First Strike. Me, I'm just biding my time until Visionaries Knights of the Magical Light appears. That's still 2 catalogs in our future, unfortunately.
Okay.
I'm doing Tom Zoller's Time and Vine, of course. Paul Cornell's Saucer State. Dread Gods by Ron Mars and Tom Rainey. Just got the first issue of that in my DCBS shipment just like a week ago. It's kind of a splashy 90s Marvel cosmic treatment of Greek mythology. Interesting stuff tinged with nostalgia.
Well, now, what can you tell me about, just because you're the expert of the two of us, on page 175, The Adventures in Oz Volume 2.
Ooh, okay. I'm glad you brought that up. I don't need to buy this one right now because I bought the big, supersized Adventures in Oz, what is essentially an omnibus, although they don't call it that. IDW put that out back in 2006, and I was one of the first people to own one because I bought it directly from Eric Shanower at San Diego that summer. And that published all 5 of those first comics original Oz graphic novels that Shanower did back in the 80s. And this is a hardcover edition. It's 10 by 13 inches, so it's a good size, and it collects the latter 3 of those 5 original graphic novels, The Forgotten Forest of Oz, The Secret Island of Oz, and The Blue Witch of Oz. And these Oz stories of Eric Shanower's are this Oz fan's gold standard as far as graphic literature interpretations of the classic Oz world put together by L. Frank Baum, Ruth Plumley Thompson, and their contemporaries. Yes, the artwork is very nearly literally breathtaking, because I can remember bringing that big omnibus of mine along on one of our epic trips down to Heroes Con, Brian. And I can remember a couple of pages, I just turned the page and literally I would gasp at the beauty of Shanower's line work and just the rich colors that he applied to it. This is what Oz Comics should look like as far as I'm concerned. So thank you for reminding me to mention that, Brian. I encourage anyone with any interest in Oz or who have children who might enjoy such things to give Shanower's work a try. And thanks to IDW for keeping it in print.
Yeah, because they are also offering Volume 1 as well. All right, then onward to Image. Again, where they've got many, many new #1 issues coming out.
Yeah. Many months I give a try to at least one new thing that Image is doing, because as you say, they try so many every month, and I think they're to be credited for that, for giving so many different creative teams opportunities to just put their ideas on display. But yeah, this month I don't think I was planning to try any of the new series that they're kicking out. But there are, of course, continuing series that I will continue to read. There's Gail Simone and Cat Stagg's Crosswind. I'm going to keep up with that. The 2 Kill books, Kill the Minotaur and Kill or Be Killed. Continue to read both of those. The Wicked and the Divine, of course. Paper Girls, a new story arc begins, as seen on page 220 with issue number 16. Rock Stars by Joe Harris on page 225, continuing to explore the dark and eerie and mysterious pulpy world of, almost like a folk mythology surrounding the world of classic rock. That's what this story is about. It's kind of like the X-Files meets Behind the Music.
Okay.
Interesting concept. So this is part 3 of a story that takes you back to 1982. That may be about all I've got to mention as far as Image goes.
Okay. All right, then I guess we go on to Marvel. Well, Marvel, where Marvel Legacy begins. Let me just read in the interior of their catalog. Welcome to Legacy, where every single series is an event. Over the next few months, Legacy will usher in the dramatic return of dozens of its most beloved heroes, villains, teams, and artifacts in bold stories that will begin the next chapter of the Marvel Universe. A return to original series numbering will serve as a rallying cry for old fans, and a dynamic new trade dress will signal a clean jumping on point for new readers. And to be mentioned, 3 bonus Marvel primer pages that will summarize the unique world of each character. Marvel Legacy, where diamonds from Marvel's rich history carve the path to its future. Wow. The cynic in me says, well, we've heard these kind of things before. I mean, how many times have been Marvel now again? All
new, all different Marvel now.
Thank you, yes. All those things. The only thing that caught my eye on this is Thor 700, because I've been reading Thor since Jason Aaron took over it back, I think it was like September of 2012. And again, yes, there's been 2 series of that, and now they're starting to go again. I can only imagine the confusion if you're trying to go through back issues at conventions and things, because, oh my God, I need this, what volume do you need, or what have you? I mean, that may be a minor quibble, but, the only thing that's really catching my eye, again, is Thor. I'm not really interested in any of the other titles or the numbering. It doesn't really do anything for me. What's your impression of this, Adam?
Well, Shane may have summed it up best in his own remark on the subject. I just do not know about this new direction Marvel is trying with this legacy stuff, end quote. Yeah, I just don't know about it either. And I think the cynic in me is kind of in chorus with the cynic in you, Brian. I mean, this legacy numbering stuff is nice, but I doubt very much it's going to serve as a rallying cry to older fans. And I think that it's going to create more frustration in older fans than enthusiasm for exactly the reason you just cited, Brian. It's going to make it harder than ever for people to keep their collections in order. Some of these legacy numbering don't make a whole lot of sense to me. Like Iron Fist, for example, and Captain Marvel is especially puzzling. I mean, I haven't done the math here. I don't know if this is adding up the numbering of every series that's been called Captain Marvel, or if it's adding up the numbering of every series that has featured Carol Danvers as a lead character. Some of these legacies seem to be kind of invented ad hoc, and it's just going to make putting collections in order that much more confusing. Plus, there's the fact that these legacy numbers will probably only last a few months before they start canceling them and then relaunching them with brand new number ones. And we've seen it all before, as you said. These Marvel has tried all these little stunt-like initiatives before, and they're clearly trying to make it. They're paying lip service. That's probably what Matt would say. They're paying lip service to getting older fans reinvested, but they're doing so in kind of a superficial and, in the long term, confusing and probably not that sincere way. So yeah. I'm kind of ambivalent about the whole thing. I mean, it's kind of nice that they're acknowledging that these series have been in publication for this many hundreds of issues, however choppily or sporadically. But anyway. So let's turn our attention to some actual comics.
Well, let me just for one more thing, not to beat a dead horse, so to speak. Let's turn to page 40 and 41, where you've got Jessica Jones and the Defenders, which have not changed their numbering. I mean, they could have added Alias's numbers, Jessica Jones, and there's been many Defenders titles, so it's like, what's the criteria for that, I guess, is my question. And I there is somewhere on the interwebs, I don't have it handy, how they got to some of these numberings, like what series and how they added it up. Someone can work on it, but...
You're right. They're being a little inconsistent with the application of the legacy numbering, because certainly there have been plenty of Defenders series in the past, but since this particular Defenders is very specifically geared towards the team, inspired by the upcoming Netflix series, I guess they wanted to emphasize the newness of this particular group of Defenders rather than trying to graft it onto the existing Defenders legacy, to which this team has very little connection.
Right.
I guess I can see the thinking there, but anyway, it sort of adds to the confusion. I'll agree. Yeah, the first thing I was going to mention as far as talking about the actual comics was on pages 4 and 5. We've got a new Falcon series, written by Rodney Barnes, art by Joshua Cassara, and it shows what's going on with Sam Wilson these days, shortly after stepping down from the role of Captain America, so that the newly absolved and shriven Captain America, who's now been freed of culpability from everything that the Cosmic Cube forced him to do through the whole Secret Empire series. So now he's Captain America again, and Sam Wilson is the Falcon again, and he's training a new Patriot. This is a classic Marvel timely Golden Age patriotic character as a partner / sidekick, kind of like Captain America did for him way back when the Falcon first appeared. And so it's Sam Wilson entering a new phase of life as the Falcon once again. And the first villain he goes up against is it's the son of Mephisto, as seen in old issues of Daredevil from the 80s. It's Blackheart. So interesting choice of opponent for Falcon there. So I think I'm going to be trying the first couple of issues of that series.
Okay. Well, I do want to mention that it says here for DCBS, try all of the Marvel Legacy single issues for 50% off if you dare.
How many single issues is that going to make?
Oh, boy, you had to ask me to do the math here. Let's pull that up here and see what it says here. 35.
Yeah. Well, there's also one for Marvel Legacy first issues, though. And so I guess that's not so much a bundle as just saying, hey, Falcon #1 and Spirits of Vengeance #1, which I guess are the only two first issues coming out of this Legacy event. And why not, since the whole idea is to tie numbering into, previous series numbering. So #1s would be kind of rare, I guess. But yeah, there is a Spirits of Vengeance 5-issue miniseries, new dark supernatural team featuring Ghost Rider, Blaze, Hellstrom, and Satana. That's on pages 8 and 9 of Marvel Previews. First issue of that is also 50% off through DCBService.com. So not so much a bundle as just two cheap comics.
Right.
Chris would probably want us to mention Black Panther #166. Number 166. So I guess that's putting together all the previous Black Panther series, Hudlin, Priest, maybe even Kirby, and matching them up and getting number 166. And it's the Black Panther versus Claw, who is going to be featured in the Black Panther movie, after all. So Ta-Nehisi Coates writes it, Leonard Kirk draws it, and that's on pages 12 and 13. Still some other ongoing series that I'm continuing to support. There's the Ben Reilly series by Peter David. There's Jeff Lemire's Thanos. There is, of course, the Unbeatable Squirrel Girl. There's the Inhumans Once and Future Kings miniseries that Priest is writing. And the Star Wars titles, which is pretty much all that Shane is doing this month. He's getting Star Wars, Darth Vader, and Dr. Aphra. He says, I may pick up the Scarlet Spider Volume 1 trade paperback and maybe some Amazing Spider-Man issues this month. I find on page 72, for you Guardians of the Galaxy fans, apparently the Rocket Raccoon ongoing has reached a 6th issue. I kind of thought I'd read that would be canceled with issue 5, so good news for Rocket fans, I suppose. Let's see, I'm looking at the trades at this point.
Okay.
On page 96 is the Scarlet Spider trade that Shane mentions. It's written by Peter David, art by Mark Bagley, great creative team, and it revisits, in current continuities, the continuing repercussions of the Spider Clone story of the 90s. This is a series I've been following. Currently in that series, or in the story solicited in this issue, I should say, the Spider Clone, the Scarlet Spider, is up against the Slingers, another interesting spider development of the same period. If I weren't getting the single issues, I'd probably be buying that trade too, Shane. Page 105, if you were curious about the Steranko-esque neo-psychedelic take on Nick Fury, and this being Nick Fury Jr., of course, the Samuel L. Jackson-like Nick Fury, written by James Robinson with art by Akko. That's on page 105. There's a trade of the first 6 issues there. There's a trade on page 107 of the first 5 issues of the Luke Cage series, written by David F. Walker, one of Chris's favorite writers, who's responsible for those Shaft comics that came out of Dynamite a little while ago. Also the writer of the Power Man and Iron Fist series that's been out lately with art by Sanford Green. On page 117, there's a trade of the Captain Phasma stories, the supporting character from the Star Wars The Force Awakens movie. So they created a new story about her as a promo for the upcoming Star Wars The Last Jedi, and there's a trade of that story on page 117 that collects that 4-issue miniseries.
All right, was there anything else from Marvel?
Not as far as I'm concerned. I think I've said everything Shane had to say, too.
All right.
If Chris joins us eventually, he'll probably have a few things to say that we didn't.
Certainly. But we're going to plod on and continue on with the rest of the book.
The rest of the book. And on page 244 from Abstract Studios, they have Motor Girl Volume 1 Trade from Terry Moore. And this is one of my favorite series that's out there. And I knew going in from actually listening to Terry Moore talk at San Diego last year and from looking around that he was not going to do a very long-running series. Don't think I knew how long going in Motor Girl was going to be. But when I placed my order with DCBS and ordered issue number 9 here of Motor Girl, it said that it was number 9 of 10, which makes this the penultimate issue of Motor Girl solicited here. I had to work at it somehow. But gosh darn, any day that gives you a good excuse to say that word is a good one.
Gosh darn, I'm just loving this series, and if you haven't read it all, my goodness, I can't recommend highly enough to get the trade, or even wait till it's all collected. It's only going to be 10 issues if you can wait that long, but it's just gorgeous artwork, a wonderful story, and they've got a gorilla on the cover.
Always sells comics. Now, speaking of collected editions, though, on this same page, 244, also from Terry Moore and Abstract Studios, The Complete SIP Kids. So there were a couple of different issues of SIP Kids, which is like a very Charles M. Schultz Peanuts interpretation of the Strangers in Paradise characters. Kind of like, it is a little like Muppet Babies, but for Strangers in Paradise. And Terry Moore put a few issues of that out in the past couple of years, entertaining stuff. It is fun to see these very complex and neurotic adult characters that Terry Moore created translated back into less complex but no less neurotic children. So it's a fun collection. And all of it is now in one package for $14.95, and I'm sure it's less at DCBService.com.
Yep.
Let's see, from Action Lab, we've still got David Watch's Infinite 7. We've got Toyetica, which is a series that I look forward to trying when the first issue reaches me. We've still got Matthias Wade's Shinobi Ninja Princess. From Aftershock, we've got Dark Ark, really interesting sounding story about a second Ark, in addition to Noah's, put together by a sorcerer to save all the monsters and beings of black magic, like vampires and manticores and things that existed in the time of the biblical flood. And Jimmy's Bastards by Garth Ennis. It turns out the premise of that is it's a James Bond-like character, and we know how many sexual conquests old James Bond had in the movies and such. The idea behind Ennis's Jimmy's Bastards is that many of these sexual conquests resulted in illegitimate births. So there's this whole like dark cult of illegitimate children of this James Bond-like figure who are now plotting his downfall. That is what Jimmy's Bastards is about. So yes, I'm glad I took a chance on the first couple of issues. It's pretty good. Let's see. Up ahead on page 269 under American Mythology, we finally get a second issue of the Pink Panther Cartoon Hour, the more original comics adventures of some other DePatie Freeling cartoon characters besides the Panther himself, the Aardvark and the Ant, Mr. Jaw, Inspector Clouseau, etc.
And Dudu.
Oh, yes, we cannot forget Dudu. Well, next thing I've got isn't until the Boom Studios section. Pages 302 and 303. It would appear that Boom has gotten itself a license to produce some comics based on certain Nickelodeon properties. What is arguably the first Nicktoon, the first Nickelodeon original animated series, Rugrats. It was part of a generation with Doug and the ever-popular Ren and Stimpy show. The adventures of a bunch of pre-verbal babies who are able to communicate in a little language of their own. It's kind of like Sugar and Spike for the 90s. And it's fondly remembered by a whole generation of kids. I was maybe a little too old to fully appreciate it, so I'm not going to be buying this series, but I'm kind of glad it exists. It's written by Box Brown with art by Lisa Dubois, and it's adventures of those same animated babies that some of you watched and loved as a kid on Nickelodeon. So here's hoping that more Nicktoons-based comics are on the way from Boom. Holding out hope for Chalk Zone, which was an early 2000s product that was one of my personal favorites.
Okay.
Let's see. On page 305, also from Boom, we've got the first issue of a new King Kong series set on Skull Island. It's a one-shot. 48 pages. In a standalone Kong story. The year is 1912, and a wealthy humanitarian has traveled to Skull Island with the purpose of civilizing the native Tagatu living there. All right, so it's a one-shot. I had not realized that. I think I'm going to have to buy that. 48 pages, $7.99, full color, self-contained story of some outsider pestering King Kong in the early 20th century. Neat.
I'm going to jump ahead for a second to page 326. Is this another Shadow Batman series?
Yeah, but this one's published by Dynamite.
Okay.
You know how it goes with these intercompany crossovers. Often there's one on each side.
Right.
So we had DC's version as written by Scott Snyder, I believe. And this time for Dynamite, we've got The Shadow Batman, written by Steve Orlando. And, I don't know, Matt. I don't know if Matt is going to be... I mean, he was really badly disappointed by the Batman Shadow miniseries that DC put out. He got on the forums as quickly as he could to warn people against buying any more of it. Personally, I think I may give this version a pass. Because Steve Orlando's comments about the character and their relationships to one another seems... They seem a little vague and underinformed, frankly. And the take he seems to be pursuing on the relationship between the characters doesn't sound like something I want to read.
All right.
But, yes, you are correct in that we are getting another miniseries featuring these two characters.
All right, and then jumping on to page 333. I know this is something that Shane would love to get, is the Walter Simonson's Battlestar Galactica Art Edition hardcover.
Yeah, printed at artboard size. Okay, so that's big.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Shane says, if I could figure out how to pay for it, I would love the Battlestar Galactica Art Edition by Walt Simonson, followed by 5 exclamation points, and OMG with 4 exclamation points.
Just knock off a liquor store, Shane. That's all you got to do.
On page 341, we see the fifth and final issue of what apparently is a mini-series featuring Mighty Mouse.
Yes. And I'm not sure going in, I knew it was a mini-series. Because I'm like, wait a minute. 5?
Any of us did, right?
I got the first one, I enjoyed it, and the second one, and I what? Final issue? Consarn digit? Take my money. No, we can't take your money. All right. Be that way, then.
Page 348, we've got a trade of the Wonder Woman 77 Meets the Bionic Woman miniseries. Yep, that is something that Shane is going to be buying. It looks like Joe Books is continuing to publish some Disney-related stuff. Got a whole series of comics adaptations of classic Disney films. And in this catalog, they're doing a 48-page adaptation of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs in honor of that film's 80th anniversary. There you go. That's an all-time cinema classic. Brought to you in a new comics adaptation by, quote, Disney's master artists, whoever they are. And on page 381, can you believe that there are actually 2 different Fruit Ninja comic books being published by 2 different publishers?
I don't believe it.
Believe it or not. From Keenspot Entertainment, Fruit Ninja Universe #0. I think it's as much like fan magazine as comic. It seems that there's not only a video game, but now an animated series. So maybe this one is based more on the animated series, and the one that Dynamite is concurrently putting out maybe has more to do with the video game. I don't know. Anyway, I said I was going to buy the Dynamite version because I wanted a little more fruit in my reading diet, but I'm not buying 2 of them. Sorry. All right. Lion Forge is still working at building a superhero universe of their own. And in addition to titles like Superb and Joe Casey's Excel, they've got a couple of graphic novels thrown out there, too, including, on page 396, The Ghost of Gaudi, which is kind of a noirish mystery adventure which is tied into the architecture of tortured architectural genius Antonio Gaudi, who built the famous La Sagrada Familia Cathedral in Barcelona, Spain. So there's some history and some art history worked in there. If you like a dash of that with your hard-boiled mystery, try that, The Ghost of Gaudi. Let's see, under Oni, they're in common with a bunch of other publishers. They've got their own little first issue of ongoing series reprinted at a $1 price point program. Mm-hmm. They call it Square One. On page 402, they've got the first issue of Cullen Bunn's Sixth Gun series for $1. Also Heartthrob #1 for $1, and Helheim: The Witch War, also by Cullen Bunn, with art by Joel Jones for $1. So some good bargains from Oni Press there. A couple of Rick and Morty things on page 404. And on page 408, this is also coming out through Oni. It's called the Whiteout Compendium. So it appears to be a collection of the entirety of Greg Rucka's Whiteout series. Quote, the series that put Greg Rucka on the map. So it's a kind of a detective story, like a murder mystery, set in, of all places, Antarctica. You know, I've heard of this series before, but I had no idea that it was set on the bottom of the world like that, on the least visited continent on the planet. That's the setting is what makes this. Now that plus the fact that it's Greg Rucka's first big major success as a comics writer, and now it's being offered in this neat little package here. It's $19.99 for the whole thing, and I'm sure it's less than that at DCBS. So I'm going to give that a try. I've never read Whiteout before.
And you know, I'm pretty sure I have, but it's been quite a while. I wish I could tell you more about it, Adam. But This compendium is 35% off, and it's $12.99.
Sold. Let's see. I'm going to jump to the Titan Comics section of the book.
Okay.
Page 430. Here's another thing that we mentioned during the first part of our recent spotlight on Jack Kirby.
Correct.
Simon and Kirby created in 1954 a character called Fighting American. Kind of a response to things that Timely, Atlas, whatever they were calling themselves at that point, were doing with the Captain America character. The first issue was kind of a return to basics, like an ultra-patriotic superhero for the McCarthy era. But Simon and Kirby pretty quickly had a change of heart, and right after the first issue, they changed it so that it was more of a parody, not only of the superhero genre and the patriotic superhero subtype, but also of the American values and politics of the time, kind of a satire of the whole communist witch hunt mentality. And here from Titan Publishing, not only do we have a trade paperback of the original mid-50s Simon and Kirby Fighting America material, 200 pages for $19.95, there's also the beginnings of a new, I think, miniseries featuring the character. It's kind of a fish-out-of-water approach. It's Fighting American and his sidekick Speed Boy being plucked out of the mid-50s and plopped down in the present day and trying to adapt their 50s values and worldview to a very non-50s world. I think that's where most of the plot conflict and humor are going to come from. But it's written by one Gordon Rennie, who, this is a bit of a disclaimer here, is Scottish. So this is a patriotic superhero, patriotic American superhero through non-American eyes. So it's kind of an outsider's perspective here, just a fair warning. So it'll be interesting to see what is done with this character in the here and now by a non-American writer. So there it is. You pay your $3.99 and you take your chance to see how this version of Fighting American is going to go. Or if you prefer the classic formula, Titan's offering you a chance to experience that too. And I think I'm going to take that opportunity. I'm going to be ordering a lot of trades this month.
Yeah, the trade of Fighting American is 30% off at $13.97, and the Terry and Rachel Dodson cover of number 1 of Fighting American is 45% off at $2.19, and it does say right here on page 430, it says new series. It doesn't say new limited series, it just says new series. So that is, you can't go much more vague than that. Is it ongoing? Is it limited? It's a series. It's a series.
There's more than one of it. That's all we really get.
That's right.
Oh, on page 432, this is a character that I know means quite a bit to some people who listen to our show. Dan Dare. He's a real classic British man of action. Back when we were getting started with the podcast, Virgin Comics was publishing a Garth Ennis series featuring this character, but now it's Peter Milligan's turn. It's going to be a 4-issue series from Titan featuring Dan Dare. That's on page 432.
Yes, and the first issue with the Christian Ward cover is 45% off at DCBS, only $2.19.
Well, let's see. From Tomorrow's Publishing, Shane is going to be buying issue number 101 of Back Issue, which has got a Sam J. Jones as Flash Gordon cover. The Rock and Roll Comics issue. Yeah. So you got Alice Cooper, you got Kiss, you got the Partridge Family.
You got the Monkees.
People say they monkey around.
Yeah.
Steel Town Rockers from Marvel, the Hypno Hustler, Lila Cheney, and Cats Laughing. So it's both rock and roll stars in comics, both real and fictitious, I guess is the theme. Interesting theme. But larger than life on the cover there is Sam J. Jones as serenaded by Queen, or as scored by Queen, however you want to put it. Good one for Shane to choose. For myself, the beginning of a new cosmic spectacle in the Valiant universe on page 456, Eternity, number 1, written by Matt Kint, art by Trevor Harrison, so that it's going to have some importance to the Valiant universe as a whole, I think. So if you're a fan of that milieu, then by all means give that a shot. I think I might actually buy that myself. I think that's all I've got to talk about in the comics section of the book. How about you, Brian?
Yeah, like I said, I'm really not getting a whole lot, so I'm good to continue on with is there anything else in the rest of the back?
I very rarely do. I think this month is not an exception. Well, I do see on page 506 we've got the latest in a series of Shakespearean adaptations of Star Wars films. William Shakespeare's The Force Doth Awaken, with BB-8 in a silly Shakespearean plumed hat. Those are fun.
Yeah,
good English major fun.
To BB-8 or not to BB-8? That is the question. All right, so nothing else from the previews then?
That's about all you're going to hear from me.
All right. Well, then I guess that'll wrap up the previews book for us. Again, this is the previews catalog for August 2017 to items shipping to stores starting mostly in October of 2017. But if you've lasted this long through just the two of us, we have some time to kill. We have to do a Muddle the Murd as we play the theme music here, if I can get it up and cued here, which of course I'm not sure you can actually really hear this, Adam.
I can't, but they can.
But trust me, it's playing. I can see her right now playing the air harp. So
your eyesight is good because I'm sitting right here and I can't see me doing it.
So once again, we have reached the penultimate entry in our Muddle the Murd queue.
You're just going to keep saying the word if you don't keep sending in the submissions, people.
I'm telling you. So this comes to us from, oh boy, now you can pronounce it better than I can, Martin Bao.
I think that's how he pronounces it.
Okay.
Yeah, he lives in Australia. We've heard from him several times in the past. He was one of the biggest fans of the Deceive the D segment back in the days of our late departed brother, Jamie D.
Yes, he goes, "Hi guys, hope his email finds you well. I listened to the impromptu comic talk and thought I'd try my hand at another muddling of the Murd. As I live in Australia, if I do by chance muddle Murd, I ask that the prize please be auctioned off at Wild Pig instead of it being posted down under." It's very kind, but of course you must first muddle the Murd. And what is he playing for, everybody? All right, he's playing for a Private Eye signed print by Marcos Martin. And we also threw in a couple of things we got down at Heroes Con. The print of Telos by Mike Ringo, Casey Jones, and Rico Renzi. And a signed print of Merle Dixon, drawn by Michael Golden. Those could be, well, we'll figure this out if he was Muddle the Murd. If not, going back into the prize queue. On to the questions. Question number 1, Independent. Now, it doesn't give a time frame, so I'm trusting that this looks more like the recent stuff. Which was the only comic, this might be the 2000s, I'm sorry, this might be the 70s to the 2000s. Independent, which was the only comic to be noted under the company name Jack Kirby Comics?
Interesting question indeed. Oh, Jesus. So this is going to be one of his later creations, I suppose. Jack Kirby. How about Destroyer Duck?
No. How about Captain Victory and the Galactic Rangers?
All right. So, yeah, I don't know when exactly that would have been published under Jack Kirby Comics. But I think it was supposed to be a Pacific Comics title. Yeah, I'm looking right at a cover of... originally, it was published by Pacific in 1981. So I think we're looking at between... Yeah, because Kirby died in 1994, it would have had to be somewhere... 70 to 2000. That would be the independent 1970 to 2000 question.
Okay, well then, we have a question here from Marvel that let's see here. It says, who wrote the 2-part Shang-Chi story in Journey into Mystery, published in 1998?
Yeah, I think we may be looking at two questions coming from the same time period, in which case I'm afraid the entry would be considered invalid. But yeah, who wrote that? I ought to be able to answer this. I'm sure I read the Lost Gods story that led into it. I'm going to say Roy Thomas.
Scott Lobdell.
Okay.
And question 3, DC. This is definitely pre-1970s. and he's asking an issue number. I love it. But if you were paying attention, because I think you might have brought this up in the Kirby Spotlight, you might know this one. We'll see. Please name the comic and issue number, which was the first appearance of the Newsboy Legion.
Shoot. I haven't got my notes anywhere nearby.
You can't cheat.
Yeah, that's true. I can't. On moral grounds, I can't, but also because I don't have the notes nearby. So anyway, I believe it was Star Spangled Comics. Do we have the correct title at least?
That part is correct.
Okay. The issue number, however, that's a little tougher. Number 24?
No, number 7.
Not really that close.
So you were not muddled. You sort of, you said the category might have overlapped and didn't follow the exact rules.
Yeah, okay. Let me, give me a second here. I'm going to go to comicbookdb.com, and I'm going to see when Captain Victory and the Galactic Rangers was published under Jack Kirby Comics.
Certainly.
And if it happened between 1970 and 2000, we're going to have to say that this did not follow the regulations and must be disqualified. Jack Kirby Comics. July and September 2000.
Oh!
That is on the bubble. I mean, technically it's supposed to be between 70 and 2000 inclusive. But you know what? Since he's already been gracious enough to say that he doesn't need to be mailed his prizes to Australia, he's just going to give them away to Chris's auction, I'm going to rule that, yes, we will accept this entry, and we will say that, yes, I have been muddled.
Okay, so we will put these up for Chris's next time we have the event at Wild Pig Comics, which I'm not sure. He may have something for Halloween or in the fall, but it will not be the Halloween Comic Fest.
Yeah. He tried that once and it did not exactly work out.
Right.
But anyway, congratulations, Martin, for what is, in effect, what we'll call it a TKO as a successful muddle.
All right, and once again, we have just one Muddle the Murd left in the queue, so get those entries in. All right, anything else before we wrap it up here, Adam?
Well, I think we've done our duty.
Okay, we've done our duty. You said duty.
Duty.
All right, and once again, this episode was brought to you by Discount Comic Book Service. Go to dcbservice.com for all your pre-ordering needs.
If you'd like to send us an email, the address is comicgeekspeak@gmail.com. If you'd like to leave a voicemail, you can call 267-702-6642. We encourage people to visit thecomicforums.vanillaforums.com, which is our website and discussion forum, to leave feedback about this and many other episodes of Comic Geek Speak. Tell us what you're going to be ordering from this previews, and while you're there, engage in some discussions with your fellow listeners and fans about various comic-related topics. You can follow us on Twitter. Our handle is @ComicGeekSpeak. You can like us on Facebook. We give special thanks to those people who have donated monetarily to the show in the past. Couldn't have gotten where we are without you. And as always, we are uniting the world's mightiest heroes, one listener at a time.